Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome to my newest Let's Play. Welcome to F-Zero X... Wait. Didn't we already Let's Play this game? No, indeed, we've already Let's Played the game. But like I promised in the Let's Play of that game, I'm indeed going to come back to this game in order to do some extra content. Even though I did complete the game fully, there's one thing I still wanted to actually show off. And that is actually my own created tracks. As you may remember, there is a course edit present in the F-Zero X expansion kit. And that is something you can use in order to create your own tracks. During the project I actually did cover this mode, however I only covered a tutorial of it. Showed off how it actually worked and nothing more. But there's indeed stuff I've created in this, and that's also something I want to show off. And therefore also showing off the edit cup. As you can see, there are 6 spots, actually filling up an entire cup, in this case the edit cup. And every single track you've created can be inputted there. I've actually made some very easy names in order to make sure I can keep track of them. As you can see, I've called them Jack 1 through 6, Queen 1 through 6. Oh, and remember Let's Play. The track we actually created during the tutorial, that's actually also still saved here. I have King 1 through 6. I have Joker 1 through 6. And there's also a 5th cup I've created, which I actually called the Ace Cup. And therefore giving away, in the way I actually formatted these courses, as you can see, I basically did not just create random courses, I actually tried to create an entirely new F-Zero X, you might say, also putting my tracks in cups. And because of the easy names, it is pretty easy to keep them apart. And it's also impossible to input longer names, so I think I need to do some editing in the video in order to show off the true names of these tracks. But I will still, of course, play them on Master. The one cup we have not even touched yet during the Let's Play. We couldn't even touch it because there's nothing to clear here, but there is something to show off. And that is something I will do during these extra videos. Here is the layout of the very first track I ever made. It is called Jack 1, so it's easy to keep track of it in order to place it in the edit cup. But officially it is called different, and I will actually use a video overlay in order to show off its true name. In this case, Mute City 1, Ugly Awful. And the reason why it's an Ugly Awful is because this was indeed the very first track I made. So very first, in fact, that I wasn't even too sure how the course edit worked back then, so I created something very basic, but it's still going to be shown off. What's also going to be shown off is a couple of characters that I missed during the Let's Play. One of them is actually Captain Falcon. I did not play a single Grand Prix with him. Even though I did promise I would show off the super machines during the Let's Play, I think I'm also going to try to show off a couple of characters I did not race Grand Prix mode with. One of them being Blue Falcon, or Captain Falcon in the Blue Falcon. So I think I'm also going to show him off. So he still can get his trophy, you might say. Are we all ready? Let's get started showing off my created courses, starting off with the very first one that I ever created. My first attempt in trying to make a course in F-Zero X expansion kit. And therefore it's also very basic, as you can clearly see. Just a simple oval shape. Because of me not being too sure how to angle the turns out properly back in the beginning, it turned out as an oval without any smooth turns, you might say. And therefore I came up with the joke idea of calling this track Ugly Awful. Interesting. Now let's see how fast we can do this course. Because of it being so basic, actually trying to figure out how the course edit worked back then. It's also very short. It's something I should be able to clear very quickly. And quickly move on to the actual tracks. Once it actually do mean something, you might say. Basic and short or not, it is a victory. That was Mute City, Ugly Awful. A pretty fun way to start, both in racing and creating courses. Later on I did get some better ideas and also got a lot better in how the format actually works, so I can create better tracks. But here in the Jack Cup, everything was still relatively new for me. And these courses are therefore pretty simplistic and basic, you might say. The second one is already a little bit more complex. This one is actually Port Town 1 Loop-de-Loop. And that is actually how I called this one. This one is going to be a little bit more sophisticated. This was my first attempt in actually trying to make angles in the track and also some height differences. And therefore I came up with the idea of making the second track a looping track. My first attempt in creating loopings, you might say. But most of all, the second one is what I'm actually proud of, because I actually created this jump in front of it and made it in such a way that you actually jump right into the looping. Looks pretty awesome, actually. Yeah, this was my first time actually having a lot of fun creating a track, you might say. The very first one was just trying to find out how it worked. But here some actual business finally got started. It's also a track I still like to win. Since extra videos are most of all meant in order to show off all of these tracks. But I'd also still like to win my gold trophy here, of course. Even though it's not an official gold trophy, which you can keep by Goro, by the way. Curse you, Falcon! We're already having a good laugh here, aren't we? Let's continue. Jump into the looping one last time. See if we can catch up with these people. Which I highly doubt I will, if I look at it. Oh, especially if I screw up the turn. But okay, 4th place, not too bad. These tracks aren't designed with computers in mind, of course. And therefore, it is always a guess whether they are going to be really good or really bad at these tracks. It seems like this is the kind of track where it's pretty difficult actually catching up with them. But it does mean that in the standings things are going to get exciting. Octoman takes the lead. While we enter the 3rd track of my game, you might say. Jack 3 I will actually overlay with Silence 1. A track that is actually based on a later track from F-Zero GX. Namely Lightning Loop Cross. Not a complete copy of it. Oh, and the finish line is not long enough, it looks like. Hey guys, what are you doing back there? Awesome. Yeah, normally I actually only test these tracks out in time attack, so I'm on the track alone. And then you obviously don't notice that your finish is not long enough. But no matter, I can always adjust that later. But like I said, this track is actually based on Loop Cross from F-Zero GX somewhat. But only the general gimmick is actually taken from that track. Other than that, it's still a completely newly designed track, you might say. Complete with an awesome jump you can actually take here if you go fast enough. We'll try to do that in the second lap. Oh, Blood Falcon? No. I'm not gonna go there. No, this is Master, and therefore you guys are aggressive. Thank you, Black Shadow. Still, this is actually the kind of track where I'd like to try to go fast. That's the whole reason why we're playing F-Zero, aren't we? In order to go fast. Not to get stopped by every single opponent we meet. Like Billy, for instance. Or Jody. Okay, things aren't going so well, it looks like. Oh yeah, let's try making this jump now. Yeah, awesome. In all honesty, that jump did get placed there accidentally. I wasn't going for placing a jump there, but the moment I actually shaped my track, inputted the angles there, that one kind of came into existence on accident, you might say. But I still wanted to keep it around because I liked it so much. But okay, enough said about the track, the background story and everything. Now let's try to win it, because Octoman is still in the lead, both in the rankings and in the race. So allow me to try to salvage that. Here you are. And there you go! Most awesome way to kill someone. See, I told you it was a good idea to keep that jump in. Like I said, during the second race, we're already having a good time. Well, that was the 3rd track, and with Octoman taken care of, we are back in the lead in the general standings. 20 points ahead of Roger Buster. Next up is the first track I actually created out of an already existing track. And I think it's pretty obvious which one that is. Devil's Forest 1 is Y track, based on Crossroads from the original F-Zero X expansion kit. And that is also something you could do. Like I explained during the tutorial episode of the course edit, you can always create your own tracks, but you can also load in already existing tracks from the original game. And those you can also adjust. And that is also something I wanted to test out. So I picked my favorite track from the DD1 Cup, namely Crossroads, Devil's Forest 5, and tried to make something else out of it. In this case I created a giant Y instead of a giant X, which was just a small adjustment. And I also flipped around the driving direction, because as you can see we're now going in counterclockwise fashion, instead of the clockwise fashion you normally go in. And that is also something you can do whenever loading in a course, reversing driving order. Also something I pointed out, I'm pretty sure. But in order to test that out I actually created this track. Officially therefore the second track I ever created. This one was created after Mute City Ugly Awful. This is officially my second track. But actually I put it a little bit later because of it being a little bit more complicated, because of the 180-degree turn that's actually in here. These turns are actually a little bit less sharp, therefore I still think it is suited for a jacked up course, just like this one. Because of no longer being across the Y, turns are no longer 90 degrees, but 45 degrees. Making it a little bit of an easier track compared to Crossroads. But this was at least my first example of a recreation of an already existing track. And this is not going to be the only one, so be prepared. The other two are actually way better, so this was just to test it out, you might say. A lot of the tracks in the Jack Cup are just testing out. But not everything, because the next one we're going to get, Jack 5 or Big Blue 1, is actually the best track I created that is still part of the Jack Cup. This one actually suits better in the later cups, I might say, where my tracks actually become way better. And this is the first track I ever created where I really had the feeling, yeah, this is a good track. This one worked out well. Let's go show it off. A couple of jump blades. The second one the computer players don't like so much. Anyway, here's the general gimmick of the course. A giant corkscrew going over the start-finish line. And then behind it starts curving around a bit more. And some awesome angled turns, you can see. And driving past this really feels well. Awesome. Jump blade right before the finish. And let's go, second lap. Let's go over this bow. What the hell? Black Shadow! Not too sure what you were going for there, but it seems you only ended up killing yourself. Oh, computer players. No Biorex. I was just trying to explain how funny computer players can be, and you start punching me again. And you know what happened to the last person who tried to knock me? Just ask Black Shadow down there. Oh, computer players. Just like in the regular project, we can have a lot of fun with them. Now let's start finishing off this track. All of the angled turns. We should be good. We're in first place. Octoman is behind us. Not Roger Buster, so we are done. That was Big Blue 1. And there is my first death, it looks like. But after... And it looks like I'm not the only one. But after I finished, so it does not matter. No, still not done falling, guys. Oh, computer players. I could write a book about them in the meantime. Looks like... Yeah, in the general standings we are golden. Does not matter where we finish, but I will try to win. Jack 6 is my first Sector Alpha. And just like the original Jack 6 in F-Zero X, this is also a high jump course. One that actually got readjusted later on. Because some people might remember my first YouTube channel where I actually also showed off these tracks once. when they were still created in the F-Zero X execution project and not per se here in the expansion kit, because I did not own that one yet. But all of the tracks were actually already shown off there. But this one, not per se. Because I must admit, in the meantime, I've actually readjusted this one. But this course actually got a remodeling later on. For the biggest part, it's still the same, but the beginning part, where you saw all the curves and all of the dash plates, that actually got added later. Because the moment I started recreating my courses in the F-Zero X expansion kit, taking them over from the execution project, you might say, when I was busy taking over this track, I actually realized, yeah, the beginning part is kind of bald. There's nothing really happening there, so I added a couple of things, like the minefield over here. The track going upward here is also new, because it used to be flat here. And these curves. So there's still a little bit more to do in the beginning area as well. But that wasn't there originally, so if you still remember the original course, which I highly doubt you do, but if you do, that part was actually new in this final version of the track. Uh-oh! Need to keep in mind not to go too fast over the left over there, because then you can fall. Should have realized that sooner. But hey, it's been a couple of years since I last seen these tracks, so need to get used to them again, you might say. But now at least I remember to stay right and also keep my nose down. Let's try that again. It's only in the second lap, so already doing way better. In my first attempt I was still in 20th place here, so it's going way better. Yeah. 14th place. You see more than enough of this track already, so let's go finish it now. Retiring is something that could happen more often in the later cups, because even in this one you can already notice the general difficulty is way higher than the original game. Of course it is. But even then, this is still the Jack Cup, so I feel these are the 6 relatively easiest courses I've actually created. Even those are already way more difficult than in the original game. So you can imagine, in the later cups it is going to get way worse. So retiring is not going to be an uncommon thing. I'm actually surprised it did not happen any sooner here. Oh, awesome. Go away, Blood Falcon. Oh, ow. Screw you, Goro. Octoman is taking the lead in the meantime, so let's see if we can catch up with him. Oh, still going quite fast. Oh, whoa! Well, it would have been nice if I actually finished there. I knocked the Octoman over the finish line while exploding. That would have been nice. Having a machine that actually got destroyed because of me knocking into it, and still getting second place because of the machine finishing before exploding. Something that normally only happens with me. As you may remember, I actually did that a couple of times during the project. Destroying myself deliberately right before the finish, but do making sure I go over the finish before exploding, and therefore the ranking still counting. That almost happened with a computer player. Or I must say, it did happen with a computer player. I was just destroyed myself before the finish, so I wasn't actually able to cash in on that little trick. But the moment I exploded, you still saw I was in second place. Octoman had already exploded by that time, so you can see, even with computer players, that the trick still works. If the computer player explodes, but after crossing the finish line, his ranking still counts. And apparently we need extra videos in order to finally find out about that. Awesome. Well, all of that taken into account, it's still ending up being quite a nice episode. I was kind of worried about this one being a little bit flawed, you might say, because of the tracks not being my greatest work, because all of these being my earliest work. I must admit, my later work is way better than this. This was still back in the beginning, so these tracks are design-wise not the best, you might say. But I'm still proud of them. These are the tracks that actually learned me how to handle with the expansion kit's course edit tools, you might say. And they're still not too bad, especially the big blue one I think is the best one in the Jack Cup. These were the 6 first tracks, therefore my Jack Cup, you might say, my first cup. Needed 3 attempts for the final track, but still still ended up being quite a good laugh. There we go. And that was the first Grand Prix race in extra content. Ending up with 581 points, because we're getting 1 4th place and the rest all 1st place. And we can also finally show off Captain Falcon's dialogue, because of course I did not play with him yet in the Grand Prix race. We also did not see his dialogue after actually getting a gold trophy. So even in this extra video we're still getting some new content, you might say. But anyway, that's pretty much how the Edit Cup works, as you can see. You can create tracks of your own in the course edit, and here in the Edit Cup you can actually play them. The only downside I must address is perhaps the fact that there's only 1 Edit Cup. It would have been nice if they actually made a whole separate mode for this, so you can actually fill up 4, 5 or 6 of these cups, so you don't constantly have to change them around. That's a little side note. You're still able to actually play your tracks in cup form. That is still pretty fun. Next time we're going to see some better tracks, because the Queen Cup, the King Cup, not the actual ones, but mine of course, are going to be shown off then, being way more difficult and way more complex than the ones we saw here. First, we're going to get Captain Falcon's dialogue, finally, for beating Master. I now retire, undefeated champion. Well, you don't see Captain Falcon a whole lot without his helmet during the series. So, don't forget about his face. But anyway, that was the first cup. Next time we're going to see 6 more of my tracks. Probably the only time we're going to see them. Don't really can think of a reason to show them off more than once. But at least we'll be able to see them finally. Whenever a new extra spot opens up, I will be able to upload tracks number 7 through 12 here in the Edit Cup. So look out for that. And now it is time to close off this one. Thank you all for watching the first 6 tracks I've actually created in the course edit. But there's many more. As you might have seen in the list, there are many more. See you folks next time. And Treecks out. Later folks.